Right. Let's try again. Let's try again. I'm going to wait about 30 seconds. I'll sit here and waffle for a sec. Let me know in the chat if you are still experiencing problems. Hopefully we're good now. Like I said, on my end, there's still actually nothing wrong. So hopefully we shall be good. The old stream has been killed. I sort of crashed that one. Now we're back, starting again. So hopefully we'll be good now. Hopefully we're going to be absolutely fine and we can talk about United. Because as we were saying there... Sorry, my notifications are going absolutely mental. As we were saying before we got absolutely kaboomed, right? United were positive this weekend. We won a football match. We won 2-0. YouTube doesn't want us to talk about it, but we're going to try to anyway. We got some important points on the board. We see ourselves climb into the top half of the table. Looks like in the chat things are working. Are we good? Are we back? Are we back in action? I think we are. Anyway, so we are back. Manchester United got the win this weekend. Just booted from PC. Probably not going to help. United got the win this weekend. We are back, we're back into the top 10. 6 points off the top of the table. And suddenly, right, if we beat Liverpool after the international break, you know, this supposedly amazing team at the start of the season, if we win at the start, or if we win after the international break, we'll only be 2 points off Liverpool. So suddenly from being a burning mess just a couple of weeks ago, 7 days ago, we actually can get ourselves back into conversations for good positions this season. What's weird is probably the way that we did it. We didn't approach this game in the way that you would typically expect. Like, look at this pass map from the weekend. It's not what we expect to see from a big side playing at home to a newly promoted side. You can see, again, the most common pass to Sesko was from our goalkeeper, which isn't what we expect to see from big teams. But what I was trying to say before the stream crashed and we all blew up and died is, do you have to play a certain way? Over the past 5-6 years, there's been this sense that you've got to play in a certain way, that you've got to play out from the back, that you've got to press, that you've got to dominate the football. Manchester United didn't really do any of that at the weekend, yet still won this match very, very comfortably. Won 2-0, defensively looked very solid, and created plenty of chances moving forward. So, is there a chance that there's a different way that we can play moving forward? That's what I want to try and figure out today, because a lot of the stats that we're going to see suggest that United aren't playing like a traditional or a recently typical top side. By the way, good morning to you all in the chat. I've already said hello to a lot of you already before the stream died. Hopefully we are good. We are working now. One of the mods, would you mind quickly just popping a message in the Discord server just to let people know that we're back? If you can drop like an @ everyone, just to let people know that we are back and working. Did I see a membership from David? I did, and it's a 20-month one. The fact that David has been a member for 20 months now is insane. I feel like we had some real highs and lows in that time. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, as a football club during that time. But David, thank you very much, as always, for the support. 20 and more to go. We love that. Also, it's the exact amount of subscribers, 20k, that we need for 100. So we are on the way. You do not have to play any certain way. You have to either outsmart the other manager or outplay the opposition. Exactly. We're in this era now where, like I said, it is suggested that you have to play this certain style of football. And anytime you don't see your team doing that, you feel like you're playing poorly, or suddenly the terms unsustainable start coming up. But is it actually unsustainable? Is there a chance that United could be a team that plays in a different way? That we can be different to the rest of the league? Or was this a one-off performance where perhaps Amorim's under pressure? Perhaps he felt he needed a result more than a performance. So is that something that's coming into play? Is this a manager under pressure, so not building for the future, but wanted that short-term result? I don't know, but it was interesting the way that we played. And how we've played so far this season. We're second in the league for long balls. Only Wolverhampton Wanderers have played more direct passes than us. And in terms of, you know, the teams we would like to compete with, your Cities, your Arsenal, your Liverpools, none of them are on the screen here, right? So it is very different to what has been the meta recently. Pep Guardiola's, you know, short style. United are doing something quite different. We're doing something quite different. But is it a problem? Is it a problem? AJ, did you see the Opta pass map for the Mount goal? Thoughts? I did. It was nice to see. I'm not used to seeing United do that this season. Sort of slow down and actually get the ball down. In a way, it's kind of infuriating because it shows that we can play that slower brand of football, which I personally do prefer, despite everything I just said. I'm actually doing a bit of work on that goal later, and Bumo and Ahmad's involvement in it. We saw in that pass map a second ago, we were right side heavy the other day, but that's where our good players are. Ahmad and Mbumo down that right side. I felt at the weekend we started to see those two gelling for the first time this season, I would say. We started to see what they could be in the long term, and it was quite exciting. I really thought in the first half, like Mbumo and Ahmad found it too easy. Like the match was actually too easy for them during the first 30 minutes in particular. They were completely destroying Sunderland. Will the floor of the talent continue to rise, making the Prem more and more competitive? See, it's a really weird one. I am of the opinion that over the past few years, the Premier League quality has improved drastically. But I actually think this season it's not quite as good. I feel like we've got a lot of teams sort of a little bit in between and stuck as to where to go next. Newcastle, for example, are obviously a great team that have been getting better year on year. But it feels like they've just stalled potentially. Still very good. But have they progressed? I'm not sure. A lot of teams have lost their good players as well. If you look at Aston Villa, another team who have obviously been getting better and better. But have they just stalled? Have they just found that point where they've sort of reached their limit and they've got to try something different to go further? It feels like there's a lot of teams like that in the league at the moment where they're not quite sure. They're sort of at a crossroads and they've got to figure out where they want to go next. There's a lot of that in the league, which is why, I think there was a stat yesterday, weren't there, that United have a 0.1% chance of winning the league or something this season. We probably won't win the Premier League, right? But if United can do anything consistent this season, if we can actually consistently string results together and play well, there is every chance that we finish in the top 4, despite being 15th last year. There is every chance we can climb up the table because it's such a weird league this year and we've got so many good players. Tell you what else we got. Gifted memberships from David with a gifted membership and also Alex. Thank you both very much, guys. You know what to do. That chat should be full of love hearts for those two. If you don't know Alex and David, get to know them. They have been part of this community for a long time, and they are both absolute legends. Thank you both very much. Interesting seeing where Bruno is in that average position. Yeah, higher than Casemiro. I also was surprised when I saw this, seeing Mount so high up the pitch on the left-hand side. Watching the game, I really felt that he was someone that was dropping in a lot and giving us the extra man in midfield. So it's kind of interesting that actually this pass map then suggests he was actually our most advanced player, which is a little bit odd because that's not what I picked up watching the game. It's not what I picked up. But whatever it is we're doing, right, we're getting into some decent positions. We are having more shots than pretty much everyone in the league, more key passes than most teams in the league, more expected goals, more touches in the opposition box. We've had these problems over the past few seasons where we just haven't got ourselves into advanced areas. Last year, what we saw a lot was that horseshoe of doom that I spoke about so much, where a wing-back gets it comes to the centre-back, we go across to the wing-back, and then we come back, and then we come back, and we just kept doing that. We haven't got that problem this year. There's a lot of talk that Amorim's stubborn, and I think he is, and that he doesn't change his ways, and largely I believe that to be true. But there have been some differences. There have been some changes. Like I said, last year we weren't the second most direct team in the league. We just weren't. That isn't what we saw. So that has been a change this season. Again, if we go back to the pass map, the goalkeeper to the striker wasn't something that we saw so regularly, but also so sort of successfully as what we saw at the weekend. Oh yeah, and I don't know if you guys heard me mentioning it before the last stream crashed. Long throw from Dallo. Long throws in football are everywhere right now. Obviously, the weekend we played Brentford, obviously, was a big problem. Coyote sort of launching them in. So many teams that weekend were playing with long throws. And again this weekend. Like, there are so many long throws being absolutely hurled into the box right now. I don't know why it's suddenly changed. It's almost like it's been a light bulb moment that everyone's gone, oh my God, these are actually set pieces that we can make something from. But they're everywhere. They are absolutely everywhere. And it was nice to see United actually finally benefiting from one rather than always being put on the back foot by them. I'd like to see it a little bit more. There were more passing triangles on Saturday, much like what was seen in pre-season. It just felt like a simplified football match. I don't think United were amazing I don't think we went and completely destroyed Sunderland by any means. I don't think it was a performance which really makes me stand up and go, United are onto something. It was just professional. It was just easy. It was drama-free. And I don't know the last time that happened. So people will say, and I mentioned it, second half we didn't play particularly well. We were more on the back foot than what I would like. I'd like us to go kill games, sure. But when was the last time we won in such an event-free manner? I don't recall it. Now, obviously, there's always the flip side. If you're playing voice is just not coming out here. Let's try again. If you're playing a certain brand of football, a direct brand of football, there's going to be a lot of possession losses. And I think that's probably where the conversation comes in over sustainability. Can that work in a modern game? Can you play this direct, second ball, dual-based approach? Is that sustainable? We can see here in terms of own half losses, but also the opposition half recoveries, ball recoveries. Physically, it's quite difficult on the body, right? It's quite difficult to do these actions, to constantly be involved in 50-50 battles. I say it a lot, whether that's sort of jumping to win a header, whether that's going 50-50 into a tackle, whether that's being shoulder barged. I feel like all of these things sort of take their toll on the body over 90 minutes. But is there a world where by not pressing so much, you sort of save yourself for it? And what I mean by that is, if we're not sprinting about and pressing so much, which we didn't do at the weekend, you can see that row across the edge of the Sunderland box. We didn't win the ball back once there. Is there a world where you almost save yourself physically by not pressing and quite as relentlessly? You sort of let the opposition come onto you, and you almost save your energy, your fighting, if you like, for those second ball situations? Is it almost an intentional plan? Was this Amorim trying to save our energy by not pressing, therefore saving the energy for when we did have the ball? Is that something that we were trying to do? Or was it simply a case of, just being compact? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. But something about the weekend just felt logical. Pragmatic in a way, but logical. Speaking of logical, I thought this was interesting as well. I thought this was interesting in terms of the players that are having the most shots for United. Now, of course, we still want Šeško to be higher. I spoke about that yesterday. We want him to be further up those charts. And also in terms of where we're shooting from, there's still a lot out of the box. Probably too many. We probably need to get a little bit closer to goal before shooting. But I feel like we've made comments in the past where we feel like we have the wrong players in the wrong positions. It's a conversation with inverted fullbacks, for example. When you invert your fullback, you put them physically closer to goal, right? Because the goal's in the centre. But do you want your fullbacks there? There was a moment under Ten Hag where quite consistently Dalot would be the one getting into shooting positions. Last season, I think, and this season before, don't quote me on that. But I believe Dalot was in our top 6 for shots. We've had players perhaps that you wouldn't want shooting. Is there a sense here almost at United of simplifying? Mbeumo, Bruno, Cunha, Ahmad, Šeško being your shooters makes sense. There's obviously also clearly a quality upgrade. The last 2 seasons, Garnacho has been in the top 3 for the amount of shots at United, for the shots for United. Having a player like Mbeumo or Cunha shooting instead of Garnacho is going to help. I know Cunha hasn't scored yet this season, but I still think probably everyone in world football is of the opinion that Cunha is the more effective finisher. So there is also that upgrade. But we're getting in good areas. I know you can't see me now, by the way. I thought I'd make the stat a little bit bigger for you guys because last week it was quite difficult to read. But you can see on the left-hand side here, shots and expected goals. United end up in the top right corner, which is where you want to be. But what we also have to figure out is our XG only high because we're having so many shots? If we now go over to the right-hand side, the shots along the bottom, you can still see, of course, high. But the XG per shot is also extremely impressive for United. So are we seeing almost like I almost want to word it like a mid-table United, but that therefore has the ability to climb a little bit higher? perhaps not in a position to win the league anytime soon. You probably do have to play a slightly different brand of football, something a bit more consistent to actually win titles. But in terms of getting United up the table, we're 15th last year. In terms of making sure, for example, we're in the top 8 this season, is this a slightly different approach that we could take? Is this a different approach that we can take? Mbeumo was still pressing and chasing every loose ball. I love his work ethic. You cannot be a footballer that is great at football, but also doesn't have too much of an ego to work hard. So amazing at football, but also knows that he's got to cover his teammates, that he's got to press, he's got to track back. Like I said, chase loose balls. The fact that we can, if we want to, go long to the striker and flick it on is useful, right? It's not the most pretty football you're ever going to see. But if you can guarantee, even just once a match, that you're going to go from here to here in 2 passes, 2 touches of the football, like that's pretty useful in terms of catching the opposition off guard. Now, I think personally, I would always be of the opinion of let's try and be more complete. Let's have different ways of moving the ball. This weekend, we didn't play the ball out from the back. I'd like to see more of a blend. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be short. Can we do both? Right now, we're not. But is this just sort of like the next stage of what Amorim wants to do? Or, and this isn't rhetorical, I genuinely want help, or is it the flip side that he feels under pressure, and when you feel under pressure, you want results, you just go back to basics? It's a tricky one. Mbeumo is a new favourite of mine. His attitude is on point, and he's a bit of a maverick. Hopefully I'm not wrong here, but he just feels like the most guaranteed success of a signing that I've seen at United in a long time. He just looks like a player who is going to score goals, is going to assist, and like you said, is going to be a fan favourite very quickly. Be as complete as possible? Yeah, I completely agree. Long ball can't be the only way to play. It seems like that. Yeah, I do agree. Like I said, I want United to be more complete. I want us to be a team that can do that blend of both. But there's an argument that last season we didn't have either. Last season we tried to play out from the back but couldn't. We were quite poor, centre back in midfield, all of that stuff. But we also couldn't go long because the distribution wasn't good enough. And also Højlund wasn't good enough at the hold-up work. Neither was Garnacho, for example, in the front line. In terms of at least getting better, and I know the bar's incredibly low because we were terrible last year, at least we do now have something that we can do. Last year we tried the long ball but couldn't do it. And we couldn't play short. At least it is something that we can do. So, like, by definition, that's progress. Right? I'm pretty sure it is. If you win the ball back in midfield or deeper, the play is more stretched, giving more space for players like Ahmad and Mbeumo and Cunha to run into. And Šeško is hardly a slouch. Yeah, that boy can move. And like you said, if you think you win the ball and, you've got some of these runners, particularly far side runners, you win it with Bruno, you go long. It's threatening. I keep saying it. It's going to take a while for these two to work. At the weekend, I thought we start to see it clicking. If it can click, if we can get this to work, maybe we can't, I don't know. But if we can, it's so unique. I can't think of another team in the world right now that is using sort of 2 right wingers on the same side of the pitch. I can't think of another team that's doing it. See, if we are the team that can, surely that's got to be difficult for the opposition to deal with. It's going to take time to get there, but it might be worth persisting with to see if we can get to that. I think this is simply a step towards being able to play out from the back. Teams will think twice about overloading our first phase now. Josh, thank you very much. That is the comment that I wanted to read. Yes, we often talk about this in a transitional sense. If you can transition really well, teams might leave more players at the back when they attack you, which actually makes your life easier defensively. Likewise, like you said, if you can send the ball long and Šeško can constantly flick it onto Mbeumo, what the opposition will start to do is go, we can't press United anymore. We can't, because if we do, let's say the opposition go, all right, let's go man to man. Let's say the first 3 goal kicks in the game, right? So United got the ball with the goalkeeper. The first 3 goal kicks, the opposition choose to try and play man to man with United like this. Let's say those first 3 long balls, we go up. Šeško wins 2 of them. 1 drops into midfield. We get on the second ball and we play. 1, let's say the opposition get, and 1 Šeško flicks in behind. If that happens early on in the game, do the opposition start to go, we can't play like this anymore because they're just hurting us with the long ball. So rather than being man-to-man, do they drop one player a little bit deeper? At which point does that give United the license to start playing? That absolutely could be something in that. That might be what we're trying to do. Almost fixing the long ball in the hope that that fixes the short ball. Now, obviously, we don't really know if that's the intention because we're not Ruben Amorim, so we don't know why he's doing what we're doing. But in terms of thinking about possible outcomes, that absolutely could be a thing that we are trying to do. That could be something that we try and do. I know he will start by India against Liverpool. I don't think he will. That Šeško pass to Ahmad looked so simple but so technical at the same time with good pace on it, so Ahmad receives it on the run and not having to wait for it. His link-up play, Šeško, has been really nice early on. Really nice. I've been wanting to do a video talking about why I've been impressed pretty much from his first 20-minute cameo. I've just sort of held back on it because of the lack of goals, so I thought it was a little bit too early. But now he's bagged a couple, it felt like the time to talk about it. I think he's been playing really well. Like, really, really well. We all knew the quality, but I think we always thought that it would take, I don't know, maybe even 18 months to see him doing well, to sort of settle into a new league, to figure out what's going on. It's a bit of a chaotic environment at the best of times. But he's just sort of settled in, and like you said, his first touch looks pretty good. He deals with it under pressure. Physically, he doesn't look fazed by the centre-backs mounting him. And yeah, on the ball, he can play. He can play. He's never going to be a Joshua Zirkzee that is going to be sort of like a silky, aesthetic player. But like you said, that pass to Ahmad the other day, it's just the simplicity of it. He didn't overcomplicate it. He just takes a good touch, keeps the ball moving. Master the basics. That's all you need to do a lot of the time. And it felt like we saw that at the weekend. Amorim hasn't tried anything new with the build-up. Okay, nothing suggests he would change in the future. Only pattern of play when playing out of the back needs more. Yeah, I'm how do I explain this? I'm not saying, and I don't think Josh was saying, that we're doing this to improve our play out, our build-up. It's almost like we're doing it to make it easier. Right? It's not a case of actually improving in these areas. It's making it easier by scaring the opposition. Yeah, hopefully that comes across right. Šeško worries defenders. We haven't had that for a long time. He pulls them all over the place. You'd have seen that at the weekend. There's just often two on him. And that might be because Sunderland were a little bit cautious. But I think over time he will have that effect. He's probably not going to reach Haaland levels, right? Because Haaland's, I don't know what he is. He's immense. He's ridiculous. He's so good. But we saw from Brentford the other day, they sort of went in one moment 1-1 with Haaland and he just destroyed them. I didn't watch the rest of the game, but I would assume after that they decided not to go man-to-man with him and that they probably had an extra defender helping out. Like I said, Šeško will struggle to get to that level, of course, because it's an insanely high level. But if he can get that similar sort of fear where teams physically won't want to be 1-versus-1 with him, so therefore will always make sure they've got two near him, just a simple logic that we always use on the channel. If there's 2-on-1 player, we're going to have someone spare somewhere else. That might be in midfield, that might be out wide if the fullback is forced to tuck, it might be on the back line. Somewhere you're going to have an extra man. That's why players like Šeško are so good. And I think at United, we've got a few of them. I think Cunha is a player who, when he plays, draws the attention of multiple people. I think Mbeumo can be that. I think Ahmad can be that. That's, that starts to ask questions of the opposition. When you've got so many players that require so much attention, how do you make sure you give them enough attention defensively? It becomes a problem. Have you noticed how Mbeumo is getting a lot closer to Šeško, especially when the ball goes long? Feels like it's an instruction. Yeah, now, is that today's video? No, yes. I've got a video coming out later today looking at Ahmad and Mbeumo at the weekend and why I think we start to see something that works. Now, I haven't got the relevant information here, but where's the pass map? I can sort of hint at it. Look how narrow Mbeumo is here. Look how narrow Mbeumo is. Now, like I said, I haven't got the stat right now, but if you look at this graph against Brentford, if you want to do that for yourself, xgstat.com is the place to do it. Shout out XGstat, by the way. We're now affiliate with them. Legends. Mbeumo, in the last two games prior to this one, when Ahmad wasn't in the team, Mbeumo was actually almost in line with our wing-back. in terms of vertically up the pitch. He's almost in line with him, almost as wide. Suddenly this game, Ahmad back in, which I think is a big part. I think that plays a part in this. And Mbumo's so much closer to Sesko, and that's going to help Sesko. Because we do also have to be careful. I think Sesko's been very good with the long work. I think he's battled well. But I would also say that Højlund battled pretty well when he first came to the club. It can take its toll if it's not successful, though. If you're forced to deal with 20 long balls a game and you struggle, let's say you go up against Gabriel and Saliba at Arsenal, or Van Dijk and Konate, and you lose some duels, I think you can lose the motivation, perhaps. I don't know if that's the right word. But you can sort of start to lose faith in the idea. The long ball for Sesko and him performing well with it is great whilst he's performing well with it. But like all players, he will go through a down moment at some point. There'll be a spell where he's not quite winning his headers, not winning his battles, and the ball isn't sticking. That's when the system will start to look flawed, and that's when players could start to lose a little bit of belief in what we're trying. The long ball is good whilst it works, right? A bit like everything. But you have got to be careful. And also just physically, you've got to be careful as well. Because you are forcing a player here into a lot of battles. And for a young player, that can be a problem in terms of their physical development. You know, Sesko doesn't look like a player that we need to worry about physically. But it probably is something that we should keep in our minds. For example, would this brand of football work next season? If we just quickly go back to the defensive stat here, in terms of the ball recoveries and the opposition half recoveries, that obviously means you're running about, right? To have so many recoveries, that means you are having to cover your ground defensively. It works this year, whilst we're playing one game a week. Does it work even late December, when we've got 2 games a week? Or next season, hopefully, when we're in European football? Does it work so much? Or does that constant just fighting, hitting, getting kicked, heading the ball, does that start to take its toll? Is it something that sort of works for this season, but won't next year? Is it a short-term fix rather than a long-term fix? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Sesko will give Van Dijk a serious battle. I think we've got a serious opportunity in that game. I will probably do a video preview in that game as well, which I don't normally do, but I probably will for that match. And I haven't done the research yet, but just sort of at a glance, I think there's things United can do to seriously hurt Liverpool. So hopefully we have a successful international break in terms of people avoiding injury, staying fit. Give it a good go, I think. A good example regarding my previous comment, Edison. Exactly. Great at playing out the back, not comparing. Would blast the ball 70 to 80 yards in his first season. Teams dropped back after that and City could play. Exactly. I think it's a great point. I think it's what we hoped would happen if we go back a few years. With Ten Hag, we hoped that, obviously we wanted Frankie de Jong, and the idea was that if we could sign those players, we could be so good in the first phase that teams wouldn't want to press us in the first phase as well. I think psychological battles like that are important. If you're a danger on the long ball, teams prepare for the long ball more. Or if you are good at playing out from the back, teams are going to do 2 things. They're either going to go really aggressive against you, which is when the long ball opens up, or they're going to sit off and let you have it. I think it's the reputation almost is actually quite important in football in terms of how managers approach a game. If you are scared of a long ball against a side, chances are you're going to try and set up to deal with it, which is when you might then be able to play out from the back, like you've said. So I think it's a really, really good point. The wrong foot wingbacks is brilliant in the first phase. It lets people play on their good foot in and out. I think Ahmad actually did really well with that. I'm not convinced by his back-to-goal play all the time, but I thought, again, at the weekend, to be honest, Ahmad just looked more like Ahmad, is what I would say. He looked more like his sort of lively self, making good decisions. He looked a bit sharper on the ball. I think he played well. And yeah, that sort of weak-footed access inside is really useful when we're trying to play, particularly with how United try and do it. We know we like that sort of clipped ball into any sort of channel or over the top. Having that weak foot to set that pass in there, and then you first time step onto it and hook it, yeah, it works quite nicely. I guess in the final third, it's a little bit more concerning. You know, Dalot left foot, does it give us so much? Ahmad right foot? But even then, there's an argument that if it's on Dalot's weak foot, he's going to take the extra touch to get it onto his strong foot. Does a small detail like that just give us that extra little bit of time to get the team a little bit closer? Possibly. It also changes the type of cross into the box as well. Would love to see Mazraoui in the 6. I think he has good defensive discipline and good passing ability and press resistance. I think he's been seen in training with Morocco today, I think. I think he's been seen in training, so hopefully he is going to be fit for that Liverpool game. In terms of where I would play him, would I play him against Liverpool? No idea just yet, to be honest. Because I don't know if he's quite got the engine for the wing-back role, sort of flying down the left. So the question then is, where does he come into the back four? The back three, sorry. Back four. What am I talking about? Where does he come into the back three? Does he come into the back three? There's also a chance against Liverpool we don't have Ahmad wing-back. We go for something a bit more cautious. That's quite possible as well. Ahmad is a young man, far from home. I know he went home for a funeral, but that trip may have been good for him. Yeah, exactly. It's always about, of course we talk about them as footballers, but they're footballers in the public eye for 90 minutes a week, right? These lot. There's a lot of minutes where they're not footballers, where they are very human people with very human emotions, experience, and very human things, which we have to remember, always. We always have to keep that in mind when we're judging these guys, especially some of the younger players who, like you said, may be abroad and things like that, but also the older players as well. It definitely affects all of them. Bobby the Bob, good morning, my man. How are you? Is a Shaw replacement, Mazraoui? Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. We'll discuss this obviously a bit more after the international break. That would bring up the conversation of what side do you play Yoro and Mazraoui? They could go either way. But yeah, definitely something that we will be talking about. Probably not today, but yes, closer to the match we shall. Have you noticed my chair is slowly sinking again, as always? I really need a new one. We got a super chat in the chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Let me heart that. There we go. Everyone, love hearts in the chat. Speaking of Mazraoui, I distinctly remember watching him play as a 10 during my birthday last year. Fun times. Can you remember the team news coming out? And I think the team news came out initially, and we sort of looked at it and went, what's the shit? Where's everyone playing? And then I don't know what journalist, someone said, by the way, Mazraoui is playing in the 10. And I think I remember being in a Discord server at the time and just being like, what? What is going on there? It seems a long time ago. That was back in the days when Ahmad couldn't get any attack because Mazraoui was in the 10 for a game. Very weird times. Very weird. But thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Thank you very much. Weird times. Mazraoui for Dallo creates more spaces and long balls for Sesko in the box. Steve also raises a good point, though. Amorim seems to want a left-footed player in the back three. Sure is that for him right now. Dorgu and Ahmad are the wing-backs for the next 12 games. Yeah, it's a tricky one because I do think there will be games. I think Ahmad could play very well for the next month. But I still think there'd be games where he comes out of a wing-back role because different matches demand different things from different players, right? So naturally, thinking about Amorim and how he tends to act and operate, there'll be games where Ahmad comes back out of the team and it will be a Dallo and Dorgu, for example. That will happen. Having said that, Ahmad did start the season at right wing back against Arsenal, if I recall correctly, so maybe I'm wrong. Elliot Anderson, that's it, that's the message. Kevin clearly wants to be in my good books, and it's worked. I love him. What a player. I think Maguire will play against Liverpool. We'll be doing a lot more defending than we had to do versus Sunderland. Okay, that's what I want to hear. Your thoughts on second half against Sunderland. First half, it felt sort of like professional, effective. Took our chances when we got them. 2-0 up. Bish, bash, bosh. Jobs are good. Thoughts on the second half? Because as much as we can talk about, a different style of football, a different way of playing, I want United to be, maybe we're just not in the moment right now, but I would like United to be a team to go for the kill a bit more in the second half. Like I said the other day, we did get opportunities. We had a couple of decent chances where Mbeumo makes a poor decision and shoots horrendously. So we did have moments. It could have been 3, I guess, for us. It could have been 4. But I just felt second half was a bit too standoffish still. Like I said, maybe that's just where we are mentally right now. Maybe the most important thing was we're 2-0 up. We desperately cannot throw away this 2-0 win, because if we do, the confidence will never recover. So maybe we just have to go pragmatic and settle it. What are your thoughts? Is it a case of it's fine, we just needed a win, so fair play? Or is it a little bit concerning, thinking longer term that, second half we sat off against Sunderland at Old Trafford? How do you guys view it? How do you guys view it? Anderson gave away a penalty at the weekend, just had a brain fart. He's perfect for us. He got me a booking on FPL as well. And he was 2 away from defensive contributions. Nightmare. Nightmare from the boy. Sign him up. International break. Looking forward to seeing him more there. People maybe forget there is a new player time management system to avoid injuries. Sometimes players will see less time or not start, maybe due to niggles or just time out to avoid wear and tear. Exactly. Again, humans. Someone like Mason Mount is a player we've got to protect. Playing well, but that doesn't mean we can throw him in for 90 minutes every other day. For example, he's someone that we've got to protect. I also, one moment I did like, by the way, was the... I don't know if it was a direct sub, I think it was. We take Mount off for Cunha. And, just seeing that change in a home game where we're 2-0 up and comfortable, just everything seems fine again. It just feels like we're going to be okay because we're 2-0 up, we're cruising, we're quite comfortable, and we've just brought Cunha on for Mount. In another season where things are going well, that sort of moment is everything that we want to be. We're comfortable, we're winning, it's easy, and then we're bringing on world-class talent for world-class talent. That just brief half second was like, everything's going to be fine as a football club. But we're going to be good. We're going to be good. We're in safe hands. That's how it felt. The 2-0 was more important than a 4-1. Yeah, I think I agree. I think Callum asked me at half-time, would you rather 4-1 or 3-0? And 3-0 was my answer. I think the clean sheet's very important, particularly for a new goalkeeper. That moment where that ball comes over the top and he very nearly gets done. In terms of how quickly emotions can change in a football match, that was very nearly a game changer. That was very nearly solid debut. He's done everything right. He's done all the basics to, oh my God, that could have gone up in flames. It's crazy how quick this sport just changes your whole perspective of everything. We could produce that exact same performance, not score from a long throw, only win 1-0, and everyone's like, we only beat Sunderland 1-0, that's not very good. Moments change everything. It's a moments sport, right? Because it's so low scoring compared to most other sports. It makes every moment just so much more intense, so much more important. Salah is under pressure to chase back. It's not his natural game. We can exploit that in some way. Mount could spin his brain out. Yeah, Salah's got a problem at Liverpool. And Liverpool have got a problem with Salah. Liverpool have got problems, generally speaking. Tactically, they've got problems. I actually said it a lot last year. I kept going. By the way, this Liverpool team is not tactically set up particularly well. But when you've got Van Dijk, Trent, Gravenberch and Salah, you're always going to perform. And that was sort of my opinion on Liverpool last year. That they weren't great tactically, but they had just ridiculous individuals. Obviously, they still got a lot of those individuals, but they're not playing to them so much. Last year, Salah was played as a main man. This year, he's played as a bit more of a side piece, and that's making Liverpool less effective. But I actually think tactically, they were never perfect. Tactically, I think they're the worst winners we've seen for a few years, which is why I also think the league is weaker than what it's been in the past. I don't think they'd have won it 2 or 3 years ago with that. When he claims the corner, cross. Claimed 2 crosses. What a man. What a man. We need to literally just let Konate be their free man and let him pass to us. Yeah, so I did a video, Ten Hag's first season. We obviously lost the first couple of matches. And I did a tactical preview on how United could beat Liverpool. And the consensus was we can't because we're terrible. But I think it was Alanga that day was sort of the key man that we needed. And then he started and it almost went like textbook what I said. I'd like to recreate that because obviously we won that match. I'd love to recreate that. I'd love to do a little preview tactically where I think we can hurt Liverpool and then just watch it actually happen in front of us. We win 2-0, 3-1, something like that. That would be a beautiful, beautiful day. That'd be lovely. Are you going to do an FM26 stream but make your own tactic? Yeah, so what I might do is do a stream, but I might sort of learn to play the game first because I don't really know what I'm doing on it. So I might sort of, in my own time, learn to play the game properly because I don't really play FM, and then do a stream on it afterwards. That might be the plan. Another ref might have sent them ons off, and if it had been in the area, VAR would have called the ref over for a second look. Yeah, it's like I said, fine margins in this sport are unbelievable. Unbelievable. Because like I said, it's so low scoring. You know, I can't think what the stat is. But there's that stat over 90 minutes. There's however many thousand different actions and decisions that players make. Think of that. And then there's a chance you win 1-0. Like, thousands and thousands of decisions and actions take place every single football match. And ultimately, technically, only one of them matters if it finishes 1-0. That's why it's such a weird sport. That's why moments are so big. That's why goalkeepers and strikers are so important, because they might win you a match with those moments. I think Schmeichel was talking about it, about how United keepers used to save you 10 points a season. The last few years, they've sort of cost you 10 points a season. Hopefully, we're going back to the old days this year. That would be quite nice. Elanga hit the post. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and then Sancho scored. Yeah. Sancho sits down Van Dijk, I'm pretty sure. Does he, or does Van Dijk just stand there in the box not doing anything? Whatever it was a great moment. If we win at Anfield, I will forever be Amorim in, and I think it'll be a success, since we never win there. That would be back-to-back Premier League wins. It would be a good place to do it for the first time. I don't know anything about the Sunderland goalkeeper, but that save from Bruno was a worldie. He made up so much ground. One of the best young keepers in the game. I didn't know about him. I wasn't really aware of him until his move. Since then, I've sort of backtracked and done some research, and yeah, seriously good player. Callum, a guy on Twitter that I talk about a lot, sort of bigs him up, and if he trusts a player, I trust a player. And he seems to have been backing that up in the Prem so far. Milner and Van Dijk, that was a great game. That was a great game. Like I said, I think Elanga started. I think he came off at half time, but there was an idea between like Elanga and Trent or something. I can't quite remember, but it was a good time. Bruno in a wing-back role would be so much better, in my opinion. Cunha, Bruno, and Bumo Sesko up front. Van Dijk's expected twerks is off the charts. Let me see if XG Stat have got a... No, they haven't got expected twerks anywhere. I can't see any. No, can't see any. Heartbreaking. No expected twerks for Van Dijk. I'll put a request in. Thoughts on Bruno at the weekend? Now, I'm only doing this because every single week, Bruno seems to be the point of conversation. Like, we play badly, Bruno's the problem. We play well, everyone goes, see, that's why he's not the problem. This week, I feel like I haven't really heard any reaction, which again points to the fact that it was a drama-free weekend, which is lovely. But what are your thoughts? We normally have one end of the scale. This week, are we just sort of like, meh? Not fussed, or what? Keepers keep having great games against us. One of the main reasons our goals don't match that high XG. We are still everyone's cup final, it feels. Like, everyone just ups their levels if United are in town. Don't know why, they just do. Just do. We still need a defensive midfielder / a central midfielder in order to move Bruno further up alongside Mount. And we will have a front trio to go for a relentless pressing against the opposition. Yeah, there's definitely still problems in this squad. You know, whether we're solving problems or not, whether they're short-term solutions or not, long-term, there's definitely squad problems that we need to fill. I think Alex asked earlier about the left wing situation, and we did see in the past map, you know, it was quite one-sided, as well as Mount played on the left. I actually think Shaw had a decent game as well, to be fair. It is quite one-sided. We sort of created this problem for ourselves. If we go back to the summer, I asked for Semenyo. Now, I would say he's done pretty well, Semenyo, since the start of the season. But actually, more than anything, more than wanting him, it was like sort of his sort of profile that I wanted on the left. And I've been talking about this a lot. We don't have a winger on the left. You know, Dalot and Dorgu are good players. Mount, Cunha, Bruno, Cobby, Xerxes can all play left 10. But none of them are wingers. None of them are that sort of player. Whereas on the right-hand side, we've got two starting the match. There is definitely an imbalance there. And unfortunately, I don't know that it's one that's particularly easy to fix, to mend, because of the players that we've got at our disposal. I think next year, next summer, we are going to have to sign some sort of left-sided attacker. Whether we are under Amorim in a 3-4-3 or some different fella in a 4-2-3-1, one way or another, I think we will need reinforcements down the left side of our attack next summer. For now, it is almost just finding solutions for the short term. We've had the conversation of, could Ahmad play on the left? We've seen him in the left 10 a couple of times recently. Could he go all the way to left wing back? I don't know. But again, maybe it's something we could see. Yeah, Semenyo to Arsenal is the most obvious transfer I've ever seen. Arsenal have to do that. I don't know why everyone didn't do it last summer. Like I said, I think I've done 3 or 4 videos on sort of what I would do this summer at United, and I think Semenyo was in all of them, just because he just seems like a obvious hit. He's just a good footballer. This is a really good comment that we've got here in the chat, a super chat. Thank you very much. The last time we had a good goalkeeper and striker was De Gea and Ronaldo. And actually, I would even slightly counter-argue against that just a little bit. Obviously, that was a sort of like declining Ronaldo and a declining De Gea at the time as well, so they weren't even at the peak of their powers. But it feels good that we can count on our striker and goalkeeper now. Is it Conte that said it once? Antonio Conte, who said, the quote is something like, it's something like, you can pick the wrong wife, but you can't have the wrong goalkeeper and striker. It's something weird like that. He's a weird fella, isn't he? But yeah, it's, having that spine of your team in general is huge. But if we're speaking of moments in a low-scoring sport, get someone up here who's going to do things right, and get someone back here who's going to do things right, and you'll go a long way to having a pretty good season. Like, you just will. If you can get that right, if you can be the better team in both boxes, you've got every opportunity, every chance to have a great season. And like you said, of course, they're both young right now, but hopefully, Le Mans and Cesco, hopefully they can be R2 for a long time. A long time. I would love it if in 10 years, these two are still starting football matches for United at the top level, and we are performing. That is absolutely the dream. But yeah, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Thank you very much. Florian, worst start to a season for a £100 million player. I like it. Got him. You can choose the wrong wife, but not your goalkeeper and striker. Exactly. I knew it was something like that. I hoped it was, because if not, I would come across as like, what on earth is this guy doing? But yeah, get the spine of your team right. United probably still need work in that respect in midfield. Maybe centre back, although Delict had another good game. But yeah. Been saying since we signed him that at some point this season, Amorim is going to throw Cunha into left wing back. Watch this space. Andrew, I will remember that comment, and I will watch this space. He also said I didn't lose to Man United, I lost to Ronaldo. Yeah, he says some interesting things, doesn't he? He's got good character, or, he's entertaining, to say the least. Someone else we probably need to just mention this weekend. Mason Mount. Let's select him, let's highlight him. Just good at football. My chair is sinking. I so badly need to replace this chair. Steve's made a good comment in the chat, actually, guys. Get your likes in. Get some likes on the stream if you wouldn't mind. If you like the content, subscribe. Whack your notifications on. And yeah, stick around, because we do see some gifted memberships in this community. And who knows? You might get one. You might get a membership literally for free just by being here, supporting the stream. And yeah, join the United community. Absolutely. We also have a Discord link at the top of the chat. It's completely free to join. Got over 800 people now, which is kind of insane. Check out the Discord server. Lots of football talk over there. Go get involved. It's a very, very good vibe. Very good vibe. Mount was Alex's man of the match. And yeah, it's hard to disagree. He's got to stay fit, hasn't he? He's got to stay fit. He's got to. Because he's just a good footballer. He's one of those players, and I try and think like this sometimes when I'm thinking about what United 11 should look like. If I was a central midfielder, if I was a striker, if I was a wing back, if I was a right 10, whatever, would I want Mason Mount to be starting? I absolutely would. Without hesitation, I would want to see him in the 11. You know, I'd want to hear the manager's team sheet come out. I'd hear my name. Yep, cool, all right. Is Mason playing? I would want to know if he's playing because he just makes life easier. He just makes life easier for everyone because he's good at football. He's very intelligent. Like, he just seems so switched on. He has this amazing ability to just know where space is and just help out. Like, oh, United are low on midfielders here. Don't worry, Mount will come and solve that problem. Oh, we're light on numbers in the front line. Mount will go over there. Here, he just has that ability to drop everywhere because he's intelligent. Technically, he's just good. He just looks after the ball well. He gets the basics spot on. He can play on the half turn as well, which is really useful. Defensively, he works his socks off every week. He is a player who's a bit almost arrogant at times. He doesn't mind having a little bit of a scrap and getting stuck in and having a word with the opposition. I just think he's an absolute dream teammate. I don't think he'll ever be the star of a team. You know, I don't think he'll ever be the main man at any club. But just as a useful player that his managers and the teammates, they must absolutely love him. They must just love having him to turn to. Whether that's from the start in the 11 or knowing he's coming on from the bench. He is just the perfect squad player. The perfect player to have at your football club. You need him. We also need him to stay fit. We need him to stay fit. That's what we need now. Pretty good start to the season in terms of fitness. Obviously, he has had one knock, but generally speaking, he ended last season well. He started this season well, being fit. One knock concerning, but he's bounced back from that pretty quick. Keep yourself fit. You know, the international break probably comes at a good time for him, to be fair, to sort of rest and go again. I just like him a lot. I just like him a lot. We got ourselves another super chat. Of course we have. Thank you very much. We'll need to buy a left winger this January. Yeah, and as you've said there... Oh, you actually go on to say it. Never mind. Due to AFCON, our right side will be dead. But the best thing to do would be to buy a winger profile for left wing back. Play Dorgu on the right, and then after AFCON, play with two winger profiles. So I sort of jumped ahead a little bit there. The comment I was going to make, and I've made it so many times, is we almost want an Ahmad for the left. Someone who can go play right 10, but can also play wing back. And in an attacking way, I keep saying it, on the left we've got Dorgu, we've got Dallo, we've got Mazraoui, and then we've got some of the younger ones. But they're all fullbacks trying to get forward rather than proper wingers. And in the left 10, we've sort of got these half space players rather than proper wingers. I absolutely agree. Let's get ourselves a winger on that side. I don't know sort of how much money we're going to have in January. I don't know. I don't know who will be available, who will be affordable. But I completely agree. I completely agree. By the way, guys, I want to see more love hearts than that in the chat. When we get a super chat, we can do better than that, surely. Casemiro would be too slow. Ugarte would be a good option. Yeah, the 11 that I've been using so far for this stream is simply what we saw at the weekend, because that's sort of the conversation. But yeah, long term, we don't want Casemiro playing there, right? I don't think he had a very good game. I just clumsy on the ball, just so many silly giveaways. A positive day ultimately for United, of course. We won 2-0 and it's comfortable. But he does bring a lot to the team in his experience, his leadership, again, his ability in the two boxes, sure. But there's also so much he doesn't do, and he's frustrating. He's frustrating, isn't he? Very, very hot and cold at times. You know, in one moment you think he's an absolute hero, and then in the next you're just shaking your head trying to figure out what he's doing. He's a funny fella. He's a funny fella. Dorgu and Mazraoui are more of a balanced wing-back role. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. But obviously still not like proper wingers, not proper attacking players. I'm happy for Semenyo this season, but I fear his form has made him unattainable and also too good for wing-back. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's pretty much spot on. He is going to cost a lot of money next summer, which is why teams should have gone last summer. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if we were, I don't know, that's sort of talking a weird world that doesn't exist. Let's say United had a different manager or Amorim was to play a back four. and let's say Bruno goes next summer, which doesn't feel impossible. Can you imagine a front four of like Semenyo, Mbumo, and then Cunha behind Šeško? That would just be like, just watching that trying to work would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun to watch those guys. Where's the comment I was trying to read? We need him, Mount, fit for when Mbumo and Ahmad are at AFCON. Mount and Cunha in the 10. Dallo will play the right wing back. It is a good point in terms of what we're going to do when it gets to January. Of course, I don't mean this in a rude way to the players and the countries, but obviously we sort of want these guys to go out the competition fairly early so we get them back at United sooner rather than later. Individually, they'll want to go as far as possible. Of course they will. Yeah, to me it feels sort of like the solution at that point is going to be something like this, which is where, again, it would be nice if we had that extra player. You know, we've got two wingers at the club, I say, because I don't say Cunha's a winger. We've got Mbumo and Ahmad. You know, probably going to lose both of them for the African Cup of Nations. That leaves us with no wingers at the club. Probably only for a couple of weeks, but still not ideal. It's still not ideal. It's an important time of the season right in the middle. So we're going to have to find solutions. Some of those solutions might have to come from the academy as well. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, Alex mentioned it earlier, Mansato. Can we get someone like that in January to help us out, recruit from the academy? It's always helped us out in the past. So possibly. We will be a little bit light, but, you know, other teams will suffer as well. There'll be other teams that are missing key players. It's just how it goes. It's just part of it, really. It's part of it. Could Diego Leon make his debut in January? Possibly, particularly if we were to get, not an easier, because Grimsby is meant to be easier, a more manageable FA Cup draw, then possibly. I don't really see him coming into the starting 11 in the Premier League this season, personally. I think he's a fair way short of that right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I think academy wingers could be the solution if we can't sign someone. Maybe we can sign someone. I said I don't really know. Last year we didn't really expect Dorgu in January, but obviously we went and got him. That might be worth doing at some point, because I keep using the term like the left-sided Ahmad. I might go on a little quest to see if I can find that sort of player that isn't 70 mil. You know, someone that might be willing to be a squad player. I might see if I can find that. If Bruno does leave, I'd prefer it if the winger profiles we got was primarily creative. I think Cunha and Mbumo are enough of a goal threat. Yeah, that's a completely fair comment. I don't know, I get this idea of like a 4-2-3-1 in my head. You've got two solid midfielders at the base. Semenyo, Mbumo, Cunha, Šeško. I don't even know that it would work. I don't even know if it would work, but it would just be fun. Like, if you could just make that happen for 2 matches, just to see what those four could come up with. I feel like it'd be fun to watch. Mantato has been playing left-back in the academy recently. I'm sure that's to prepare for left wing-back cameos. Also was playing there in pre-season training videos. Yeah, he also, I think when he sort of first started in the academy, he played a good amount of football at wing-back as well. Fullback. I think even for England he's played fullback as well in the academy, so possibly something that we're lining up. And if so, that's definitely positive. Maybe he could be that sort of winger profile on the left that could also play a 10. I like it. What do you think we need to beat Liverpool in 2 weeks' time? The first thing you got to do is physically match them. You got to match them in terms of intensity, all the basics, stuff like that. In terms of tactical stuff, I'm not really in a position to talk about it right now because I haven't done the research into Liverpool just yet. You know, I think there's problems in their midfield, which were pointed out this weekend. I think there's a problem at fullback, which were pointed out this weekend. So I think Liverpool have weaknesses. I absolutely do. They may sit top of the table. They don't anymore, sorry. They're second in the table, but I think we can catch them. I think we can get towards them. He's only playing left-back under Fletcher in the under-21s. Eyes emoji. Bruno was bad in a 3-5-2-2. It's just one long tribute year for him, but he's keeping Kobbie Mainoo out of the team. I really struggled to read that for some reason. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Bruno next summer. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves. That wouldn't shock me. I also wouldn't be surprised if he stays. You know, if we're on the up, if we're playing well, if we have a good season, it would be a weird time for him to then leave, particularly if he's a big part of us playing well. That would be a weird time for him to move on. I dare say if we have another poor year though, and I hope it's not the case, but if we were to finish bottom 10 and I'm Bruno, I'm getting out and going somewhere else while I can because I want to go win trophies. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Just going to have a quick scroll up the chat to see if there's anything of huge importance that I missed. I think I've managed to get most of the comments. Naturally, by the way, guys, I am going to miss some comments, for which I apologise. I can't keep up with everything in the chat. As the channel's getting bigger, so are the streams, so are the audiences, so are the comment sections. It's very difficult to catch all of them. I try as much as possible. If you are a member, I am more likely to see your messages because your name comes up in a different colour for me, so it sort of stands out a little bit more. Obviously, super chats I always read as well. Apart from that, I try my best to get around as many as possible, but obviously I can't get to all of them. Anyway, after our early struggles, and I'm not talking about United, I'm talking about our stream and our technical difficulties. After our early struggles, I think we've had a pretty good chat there. I do like these Tuesday mornings for this, where we can, like I said, just sit and waffle about United. Just anything that comes to our head regarding United, bosh, there's the conversation. I do quite enjoy that. For Friday, I'm not sure what we're doing this week. Of course, it is international break, so we don't have a match to look ahead to just yet. So I'm not sure what the content will be on Friday's stream. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. You can let me know in the chat. You can let me know in the comment section of videos. You can DM me on Twitter. You can DM me on Discord. Or if you go to the Discord server, linked at the top of the chat, there is a whole channel on there specifically for video ideas. Again, I can't reply to all of them because you guys are so active. But I guarantee you I read all of the video idea messages. So yeah, if you do have video or stream idea messages, or you just want to chat about football, get yourself in a Discord server. Am I wearing a hoodie and shorts? I'm actually in jeans right now. Actually, I've been quite chilly the last few days. Oh my days. Steve Brooks in the chat with 20 gifted memberships. Steve, thank you very, very much, my friend. Guys, if you got gifted a membership just then, make sure to say thank you. If you didn't, make sure to say thank you, because apparently it increases the chances of you getting a gifted membership in the future. So I've heard. And that's why he's always been my favourite Steve. Thank you very much, mate. That is so, so generous of you. 20 of you that were not members before are now members simply because this man is an absolute legend. Absolute legend. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Quality behaviour. Quality. See you later, Alex, mate. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Can we beat Liverpool? We absolutely can. Like I said, that will be a conversation for after the international break. We will come back with a stream and figure out how we can approach that match. And I will probably do a video on it as well. Tactically, how I think we can get at them. So that will be a conversation for another day. I've been spotted by the other Steve. Steve 2.0, we're going to call you. The second Steve. We must have key members of the squad. Not using international football. We need fight. Yeah, I think intensity and things like that are going to be big for the Liverpool game, but it's a long way away. We've got to get through the international break yet, see who we got. Also, both the Steves are real Gs. Actual facts. Actual facts. Mr. Steve it out in the chat. I like to fire as many shots at him as possible. He's a bit like my new Chad. He's my emotional punch bag. But he knows I love him, really. He knows I love him. Yes, anyway. We are going to wrap the stream up there because I need to go and edit a couple of videos for both the main channel and also the second channel as well. So that's my plan for the rest of today. There will be content on both channels out later this evening, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Any good memes on the Discord? Oh, no. If there's a clown-related video on there, then I can't say I didn't deserve it. I cannot say I did not deserve it. Bro, why do you think Mount is better in this system now than Cunha? I don't necessarily think that he is. The only reason we had him on screen today was because of the 11 at the weekend. But I might do a video at some point discussing the difference between the way that the two players play what appears to be a similar role. So I'll probably do a video on that at some point. Anyway, for today, the stream is finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for everyone who liked, subscribed, got notifications on. Anyone that went to xgstat.com and used my code, legendary behavior, that actually really helps me. Thank you for gifted memberships, renewal of memberships, super chats, anyone that joined the Discord, everyone that got involved with the good conversations, and also everyone that sat there quietly as well. I know you guys are there. Shout out you guys. I shall see you all for videos for the rest of the week. And I shall see you live on Friday, providing I come up with an idea or one of you big brains throws an idea at me and I'll claim it as my own.